Hello, it's Becky from Chic Mouldings here. I'm going to show you how to use a print to make an image transfer. This is a print from my home laser printer. You can use pretty much any print, professional or printed at home. You can use posters, pages from books, that sort of thing. I am going to use this on this tissue box holder. I've already started painting it, but I decided to do this on the front. I have prepped this using a white shellac primer. Just make sure you've got a pale colour behind. The lighter the better, because the lighter the colour you have behind, the more your image will stand out. Whatever is behind this image will show through. I've gone ahead and sanded back the shellac primer so you can see the grain again. You can also just use a white painted surface. Make sure it's sanded, nice and flat. Now I need to put some adhesive on the surface here. I'm going to use Mod Podge, which is a polyvinyl acetate glue, or PVA. You can use white glues, they're all the same thing. Wood glue it's called sometimes. But just use a good quality PVA glue. So I'm going to apply this to the surface. I've already marked my area and I've marked some little registration marks. Make sure you get the glue well onto all the surface. You want it well covered but not very thick. Before I apply this, I want to get it nice and wet, so I'm just going to spray it on both sides with some water. The reason I'm going to get this wet is because I want the paper to swell as much as it can before I apply it. If I applied this before I wet the image, any water in the PVA glue would expand the paper and it would cause wrinkles. I've just dropped a little bit of water on there, so I'm just smoothing it all out. Right, so this image is nice and wet. I go ahead and pop that down. Now, it's very important to get all the air out that might be between the paper and your surface. I like to start from the middle and work out. Hold it in place. It will move around a bit if you're not careful. You can see any excess glue is coming out there as well. You can. This is a gel plate squeegee. It's just a little silicone squeegee I quite like. You can also just use your thumb gently. And I'm just going to use a tissue to soak up any excess around the edges there. And I'm going to leave this to dry completely for a while. I want the glue behind this to be absolutely completely dry. This has been drying for a couple of hours now. It's really dry. If you're a little worried about it not being dry, leave it overnight, that's fine. Right, so I'm going to come in with some water. I'm going to spray this liberally, make it really, really wet. And just leave that for a couple of minutes so that the water can soak into the paper. What we're going to aim to do is remove all of the paper, and all that will be left on this surface is just pretty much just the print and maybe the teensiest layer of paper. So I'm just going to rub this away. This does take a bit of time. I'm rubbing quite gently. I talked earlier about the need to eliminate all of the air bubbles between the print and the surface you're gluing it onto. If you don't do that, you will get little spots where the image has not been able to adhere to the surface, and the air underneath the image will cause just a blank spot, which can be quite nice if you're doing an aged piece, but I like to be able to control that sort of thing. I'd rather have it all there and then choose to age bits off later on. You can see this is coming off quite nicely, slowly revealing the image. I'm going to get rid of some of these little bundles of paper, get them out of my way. And then just keep going. It's hard to tell when to stop with this. I tend to let it dry, leave it and let it dry off for a while and then come back to it if I need to. Basically, I keep doing this gently until I cannot get any more paper off. If you don't remove all the paper, what happens when it dries, it looks lovely and clear now, doesn't it? But when it dries, you will end up with a white sort of layer on the top that will occlude your image. I'm going to leave that for a little while and wait for it to dry out a bit and see where I'm at. It's about 10 minutes later, and as you can see, what I mentioned has happened, which is that there's still a bit of paper on top here, so it's a little bit opaque. So I'll go ahead and wet it down again and start gently rubbing off any of that excess paper. I'll let that dry again now. I may have to come back again. Whether I do or not, I will finish the piece and show you the finished result.